ordered him to get on his knees. Then they threw a dirty mop at his feet and told him to clean the floor like a dog. The entire restaurant laughed. One woman even looked him in the eyes and said, "A poor waiter like you will never be worthy of my daughter." He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He simply picked up the mop and smiled, because in just 72 hours, every single person in that room would discover they had just humiliated the man who owned everything around them. This is the story of a billionaire who disguised himself as a poor waiter to discover whether the woman he wanted to marry truly loved him, or only the empire waiting behind his name stay until the end. Because what happens at the country's biggest gala will leave an entire ballroom speechless. The restaurant was called the Ivory Room. It sat on the top floor of a glass tower in Victoria Island, Lagos. Rich men came here to eat food that cost more than most people's rent. Kwame worked there. He wore a cheap black uniform, one size too big. He carried plates. He wiped tables. He said, "Yes, sir," and "Right away, madam," all night long. Nobody in that restaurant knew his real name. Nobody knew that the boy clearing dirty plates was the only heir to Okonkwo Global, a company worth more money than the whole street outside could ever count. He looked poor. He wanted to look poor. That was the plan. That night, the door opened and Nia walked in. She was beautiful. She was proud. She walked like the floor belonged to her. Behind her came her friends, laughing at some joke. And behind them came Kofi, tall, loud, dripping in gold jewelry, the kind of man who tips big just so people can see him do it. Nia was Kwame's fiancée. Yes, his fiancée. She did not know he worked here. She had no idea the man in the cheap uniform, standing by the kitchen door, was the same man she wore an engagement ring for. Beside Nia walked her mother, Madame Adaobi, a woman known across her social circle for one thing only: status. She judged every person by their car, their watch, their shoes. And behind them came Kofi, tall, loud, dripping in gold jewelry, the kind of man who tips big just so people can see him do it. Kwame saw Nia enter. His heart dropped, but he did not run. He wanted to see. He needed to see. A waiter sat them at the best table. Kwame was told to serve that section tonight. His hands were shaking as he walked toward the table, not from fear, from heartbreak, because deep down, some small part of him hoped she would see him and still smile. He placed the water glasses down. Nia looked up and froze. "Kwame?" she whispered. Her face went pale. What are you doing here? Dressed like this?" Her mother's eyes moved slowly from his cheap shoes to his worn-out uniform, and her lip curled in disgust. Kwame lowered his head. "I work here," he said softly. Madame Adobe let out a short, cold laugh. "This is him? This is the boy you plan to marry?" Nia's face turned red. "Not from love, from shame. You told me you were in business," she hissed under her breath. "You told me you were building something big." "I am," Kwame said quietly. "Just not yet." Kofi leaned back in his chair, smiling the way a lion smiles at a wounded animal. "So this is the famous fiancé," he said loudly, loud enough for the whole section to hear. "The mystery man Nia never brings to parties. Now we know why." The table laughed. Kwame said nothing. He picked up his tray and turned to leave. Kofi wasn't done. He snapped his fingers at a cleaning station near the wall, grabbed the mop resting against it, and threw it down at Kwame's feet. It landed with a wet slap against the marble. The whole restaurant turned to look. "Since you're already dressed for it," Kofi said, smiling, "clean the floor properly, on your knees, like a real waiter should." Kwame's jaw tightened. His eyes moved to Nia, waiting, hoping. But it was Madame Adaobi who stood up first. She looked down at Kwame, straightened her expensive shawl, and said the words slowly, so every table nearby could hear them clearly. "A poor waiter like you will never be worthy of my daughter." The room went silent for a second, and then filled with laughter, the kind of laughter that comes from people who have never once felt small in their lives. Kwame said nothing. He looked at Nia one last time. "Nia," he said quietly, "please." And this is where her heart should have spoken. This is where love should have stood up. Instead, Nia looked away. She did not defend him. She did not correct her mother. She simply turned her face toward the window, embarrassed, silent, and let the moment pass. Kwame bent down, picked up the mop, and knelt on the cold marble floor, in front of everyone, in front of his own fiancée, and began cleaning like he had been told. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He simply pushed the mop slowly across the marble, and somewhere behind his lowered eyes, a small, calm smile appeared. Kwame stayed on his knees. He wiped the floor slowly, carefully, his hands steady even though his chest was on fire. But his eyes were not sad anymore. They were calm, because in that one sentence, Nia had just answered a question Kwame had been asking for 6 months. Does she love me? Or does she love what she thinks I could give her? Now he knew, and somewhere, deep behind those calm eyes, a decision was made. To understand why Kwame was kneeling on that floor, wearing a cheap uniform, cleaning up champagne like a nobody, we have to go back. 6 months earlier, Kwame sat in a lawyer's office in Lagos, across from an old man with sharp eyes. His grandfather, Chief Okonkwo, founder of Okonkwo Global, a man who built an empire out of nothing and who trusted almost no one. The old man was dying. Everyone knew it, but his mind was still as sharp as steel. "Before you take this company," Chief Okonkwo said, tapping his cane on the floor, "you will do one thing for me." "Anything, grandfather," Kwame said. "You will test her," the old man said. "The girl you plan to marry, you will find out who she really loves, you or the name Okonkwo." Kwame frowned. "Grandfather, I know Nia, she loves me." The old man's eyes did not blink. "I built this company with nothing, and I watched money destroy every friend I ever trusted. I will not watch it destroy my only grandson too. You will disappear for a while. You will become nobody, a waiter, a driver, anything poor and invisible. And you will watch. If she stays when you have nothing, then she is worth everything you own. If she leaves, then you must know it now. Before the wedding, not after. It was written into the will, a condition. If Kwame refused, the company would go to the board, not to family. So Kwame agreed. He quietly stepped away from his real life. He rented a small room in a poor part of the city. He took a waiter job at the Ivory Room, the very restaurant his own family used to dine at as VIP guests. Only this time, nobody recognized the heir behind the apron. He told Nia a simple lie. "I'm starting a business. Things are slow right now. I need time to build it." He wanted to see what she would do with slow. He wanted to see if she could love a man with empty pockets. Now he had his answer. And it hurt more than he expected, because some part of him truly believed she would surprise him. She did not. That same night, after the restaurant closed, Kwame sat alone in his small room, his knees still aching from the cold marble floor. His phone buzzed, a message from Nia. "I can't be seen with a penniless waiter. This is embarrassing. We are over, Kwame. I hope you understand." He read it twice, then he set the phone down on the table, and for a long moment, he just sat there in silence, not broken, not angry, just certain now. Outside his window, a car engine roared to life. He looked out and saw Nia getting into Kofi's shining black car, laughing at something Kofi said, like the whole embarrassing scene at the restaurant had never happened, like Kwame had never existed. Kwame picked up his phone again and made one call. "It's time," he said quietly. "Prepare the announcement. I'm coming back." News spread fast through the wealthy circles of Lagos. Okonkwo Global, one of the biggest companies in West Africa, was about to announce its new group chairman at a private gala. The old chief had passed leadership down. Nobody outside the family knew who the new chairman would be. Every important business family wanted an invitation. Seats were limited. Only the richest, the most connected, the most powerful were allowed inside. Nia's family did not have that kind of power on their own. But Kofi did. His family had contracts tied to several big companies, and through those connections, he managed to get passes for himself, Nia, and a few friends. Nia was thrilled. Not because of Kwame. She hadn't thought about him in 2 days, except to feel a little embarrassed that she was ever engaged to a waiter. She was thrilled because Kofi promised her this gala would open doors. Rich doors. Doors with better men behind them than a boy who cleaned tables. The night of the gala arrived. The hall was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers, gold decorations, cameras from every major business channel in the country, servers moving quietly between round tables covered in white cloth. Nia wore a stunning red dress. Kofi walked beside her like a peacock, greeting people, dropping names, laughing loudly at his own jokes. They were seated close to the VIP section, thanks to close connections, close enough to see the stage, close enough to see everything that was about to happen. The lights dimmed. A voice on the microphone announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the new group chairman of Okonkwo Global." The doors at the back of the stage opened, and Kwame walked out. He did not look like the boy from the restaurant. He wore a tailored African-inspired suit, deep navy with gold embroidery along the collar, the kind of suit that costs more than most people earn in a year. A heavy gold watch caught the light on his wrist. Two armed bodyguards walked calmly behind him, scanning the room like they had done this 100 times. The entire hall stood and applauded. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered to each other. Business leaders leaned toward their neighbors, nodding with respect. Nia's champagne glass slipped slightly in her hand. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Kofi's smile disappeared completely from his face. His skin went pale, because standing on that stage, under those bright lights, was the exact same man Kofi had ordered to kneel on the floor 2 nights before. The same man he told to wipe my shoes. The same man the whole restaurant laughed at. That's him," Nia whispered, gripping the table. "That's Kwame." "That's not possible," Kofi muttered, his voice shaking now. "That waiter, he can't be." But it was possible. It was very real. Kwame stepped up to the microphone. The hall went quiet, waiting for his first words as the new chairman. He looked out across the sea of faces, rich faces, powerful faces, and somewhere among them, one face that had once told him to kneel and clean champagne off a marble floor like he was nothing. "3 nights ago," Kwame began, his voice calm and steady, "someone threw a mop at my feet and told me to clean the floor on my knees like a dog in front of a room full of people, and a woman looked me in the eyes and told me I would never be worthy of her daughter." Gasps moved through the crowd. People began turning in their seats, searching for the family he was talking about. Nia's face went white. Her mother, seated 2 tables away, felt every eye in the room slowly turn toward her. "They didn't know who I was," Kwame continued, "but that was the point. I never wanted them to know. I wanted to see who really loved me, or who only loved my name, or my money." He paused, letting the silence sit heavy in the room. "A woman who discredits a man because of his clothes," Kwame said slowly, "does not deserve to one day sit inside his palace." The room was dead silent. Then Kwame turned toward another part of the crowd, his eyes landing directly on Kofi, who was now sinking lower in his chair, trying to become invisible. "As for the man who threw a mop at my feet," Kwame said, "I hope he enjoyed that moment, because as of tonight, every contract his family holds with any company under Okonkwo Global is canceled." Kwame turned his gaze toward Madame Adaobi, who sat frozen, her expensive shawl suddenly feeling very heavy on her shoulders. "You told me a poor waiter would never be worthy of your daughter," Kwame said quietly, the microphone carrying every word to the back of the hall. "You were right about one thing, madam. He wasn't worthy, because the man standing here tonight doesn't need her worthiness."
"Or yours."
Madame Adaobi opened her mouth, but no words came. A murmur exploded across the room. Kofi shot up from his seat. "Wait, sir, please. There must be some misunderstanding. I didn't know who." "That," Kwame said calmly, "is exactly the problem. You didn't know, so you decided cruelty was safe. It only stopped being safe when you found out who I was. That tells me everything about your character." Security quietly moved toward Kofi's table. Business partners nearby began whispering, already distancing themselves, already calculating how fast they needed to cancel their own ties to him before the damage spread to them too. Kofi's empire, built on borrowed respect and other people's fear, was crumbling in real time in front of hundreds of cameras. Nia could not sit still any longer. Her whole body was shaking. Tears filled her eyes, not out of guilt yet, but out of panic. She had just watched the man she threw away become one of the most powerful men in the country, live in front of everyone who mattered. She stood up before she could stop herself and walked toward the stage, ignoring the whispers, ignoring the security guard who put a hand up to stop her. "Kwame, please," she said, her voice cracking. "Let me explain. I was scared. I was confused. I didn't mean what I said. I love you. I've always loved you." The whole hall watched. Cameras turned toward her, capturing every second. Kwame looked down at her from the stage. For a moment, his face softened, just slightly, like a memory of the woman he once loved was trying to push through. Then he remembered the champagne on the floor, her voice snapping at him. "Kneel. Don't embarrass me." "You didn't love me, Nia," Kwame said quietly. But the microphone carried his voice to every corner of the room. "You loved what you thought I could give you one day. The moment you thought I had nothing, you threw me away in one text message." "That's not true," she cried. "Please, give me another chance." "You had 6 months," Kwame said. "You had a lifetime of chances. You chose the one moment that mattered most, to walk away." He looked at the security guards near the stage and gave a small nod. "Please escort her out," he said, his voice not cruel, but final. Gently. 2 guards stepped forward. Nia sobbed, reaching toward the stage as they guided her away. "Kwame, please. I was wrong. I was wrong." The doors of the hall closed behind her, and the sound of her cries faded into the hallway outside. The room remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the applause began again. Not for what happened to Nia, but for the man who stood there with quiet dignity, who did not scream, who did not humiliate her the way she had humiliated him. He simply told the truth and let the truth do the rest. In the weeks that followed, the story spread across every business news channel in the country. The waiter who was a chairman. People could not stop talking about it. Kofi's family lost almost every major contract they held. Doors that used to open for his name now stayed shut. He learned, too late, that respect built on fear disappears the moment the fear does. Nia disappeared from the social circles she once ruled. Some said she left Lagos completely. Others said she still writes letters to Kwame's office, letters that are never opened. Kwame stood at his grandfather's grave one quiet morning, the wind moving gently through the trees. "You were right," he said softly. "Thank you for making me see it before it was too late." He rebuilt Okonkwo Global into something even bigger than his grandfather imagined. But more than that, he rebuilt himself. He learned that real love does not run when the money disappears. Real love stays on its knees beside you, not because it has to, but because it wants to. Months later, at a quiet charity dinner, Kwame met a young woman named Adeze, a teacher who ran a small school for children in her village. She did not know who he was at first either. She simply saw a tired man sitting alone, and she offered him a plate of food and a kind word, expecting nothing back. This time, when Kwame told her he worked in business, things were slow. She smiled and said, "That's all right. Slow is still moving forward." He never had to test her. Some hearts simply reveal themselves in the small, quiet moments when no one is watching, when there is nothing to gain. The floor he was forced to kneel on became the same ground his empire was built upon, and the woman who once told him to know his place finally understood, too late, that some kings choose to walk among the poor just to see who truly deserves to stand beside them.